The creators of Embers believe that today we are looking at a lot of, we are looking at getting data from the server. But when I think of getting data from any other source, what is the change that I have to do? Right? There are a couple of scenarios that you can think of. For example, you have to create two records with a relationship, and you need to push these two records to the server. How would you do it traditionally? Create record 1, create record 2, and then push them, right? So let's just say I have something called as a post, right? A blog post. A blog post has multiple comments. Now I want to post this entire structure to my server. So I need to first post my blog, get the ID, post all the comments integrated with that ID, right? So comment for ID 1, comment for ID 2, comment for ID 3, right? And I'm increasing the number of calls that I'm making. So now the creators of Ember Data believe that that should not be the case. The case should be that I should be able to send this entire data in one go to the server, and the server should be internally able to figure out how I need to go about it. They should not return me an ID for the blog post, because if the blog post creation failed, the comments do not hold any meaning as such. Right? I don't need to sit and post the comments anyways, right? So that is the concept on which Ember Data is built. So the coolest feature about Ember Data is, how many of you heard of test-driven development? How many of you follow test-driven development in JavaScript? So yeah. So it exists in JavaScript, although very subtly, but it exists. So Ember Data allows you to do something which is pretty cool in terms of test-driven development. So whenever you create the Ember model, just like we did in ember.object.create, when you use the data store, when you use Ember Data, you do the same thing, but you map it to the DS model, the data store model. So you will essentially do a ds.model.create, right? And the moment you do a ds.model.create, Ember Data starts handling everything for you, right? So the moment you say this.save, it will send a post request to your server with everything that was there in the record. You do this.get, it will get all the data for you, right? So the application essentially becomes, even for data that you're fetching from the server, the code is like get and send, right? I say save, the data is gone, it's posted to the server. And even here, you're not mapping any URLs, right? So it says that if I have a model, and my model is called, in this example, movie. If I want to get all movies, what would be my REST API? What would it look like? /get/movies, right? And that is exactly what Ember says. So Ember auto creates this for you. So if your model is called movie, it is going to create a URL called /get/movies, and if you're filtering it by ID or by some certain parameters, /parameter name, and it will get that data for you, populated inside an Ember model, movie, and that model becomes your model for your view. Coolest thing number 2 is that the AJAX call is asynchronous, right? Which means when I say get, it's going to finish executing, nothing is going to get bound on the view. But when the call returns, the model gets populated, and because of binding, the view gets updated. Now this has a very, very interesting application which I'll come to in just a little bit of time. So that is a brief overview about Ember Data. I will not get into Ember Data, I really won't, because Ember Data right now is pretty much in its nascent stages. It is still in a beta. People are still using it, but Ember Data is extremely volatile. It changes almost every day. So I will not get into Ember Data, I will not go over it. I will just move on, but Ember Data is a pretty interesting concept and will probably end up being a pretty interesting concept in the years to be. So now, probably the biggest question everyone has been waiting for, that how does Ember.js stand up to or compare with the others, right? So we all just had a session on Ember, right? And some of us have worked on Dojo, Angular. So what do you think are the differences? Where does Ember differ? very simple differences, right? Data binding? Data bindings are different? And Angular and Ember, they are same. Correct. Right. So do you like Ember more now? See, you can say no, I will not mind it. But do you? Right. So, I will just talk about the big four, okay? So, over here, I personally feel that the top four come to be Angular, Knockout, Backbone, Ember. Everyone agree? They are primarily the biggest ones, the biggest names, the biggest players. So, the core feature of Backbone.js is Backbone is not MVC firstly. It doesn't have a controller. There is no concept of a controller in Backbone. Backbone is a model view model kind of architecture where you have to define the controller yourself by creating listeners and you just bind the events by yourself. And it's more of a do-it-yourself kind of a thing, right? It is easy to understand. It gives you very simplistic tools, and you can get started up really fast. So Backbone that way is I like Backbone. I've not worked a lot on it. I don't have a lot of experience on Backbone, but I have. This is what my perception is, right? Angular. Well, when I started learning Ember, Angular was just starting. Angular was not such a big deal. Although Angular now is like an amazing thing. The way Angular differs from Ember is probably verbosity, right? What I mean by verbosity is that when you actually start looking at a little more complicated things that you want to do with Angular, understanding the application and understanding what Angular is doing becomes a little difficult, right? It starts becoming a little more complicated. A funny thing about Angular, however, is that the two-way binding in Angular. So, I don't know whether they did it for performance perspective or why they did it, but two-way binding in Angular does not work until Angular encounters a $apply, scope.apply, sorry. So you have a scope.something, it will start mapping, it will have one-way binding until you do a scope.apply. So unlike any other two-way binding framework which works automatically like Ember or even Knockout for the fact of the matter, things will not change on your UI till you actually have called the apply. Looking at Knockout, I don't like Knockout. I pretty much absolutely hate it. No offense. But yeah, so why do I hate Knockout? Because it is bloody difficult to write code in Knockout. And really simple things which should be extremely easy to do, which should not take a lot of effort, like even computer properties, take a lot of effort and management in Angular. A very bad part about Angular, and I'm just going to talk about the bad parts, is one thing that Angular on a single update of anything updates the entire model, right? So if you have a list in which you are pushing 5,000 elements, it is going to update it 5,000 times. As compared to Angular, where it will just update the model and then it will just apply with the view. And on the similar example, how does Ember do it? Ember does not directly sync as well. So Ember waits for a time gap. So Ember waits for like 4 milliseconds or 5 milliseconds. And once that time span has elapsed, it reflects to the view. Waits again, reflects to the view. Waits again, reflects to the view. So in the bargain, what happens is, especially in the case of two-way binding, is that for Knockout, if you're using the same example, 5,000 elements, it's going to take a hell lot of time for the changes to reflect. And the moment you have bound those 5,000 elements, any other element that you bind, Knockout is going to go and check if any of the 5,000 elements has changed or not. And that is lame. That is the lamest thing I've ever heard of. Right? Ember, Angular, both of them don't do that. Right? The good thing that I personally like about Ember is that Ember is very understandable. Right? It maps to a lot of real world examples. Right? You can actually do a .create and it creates something. You do not extend and it extends something. The problem with Ember is the learning curve. right? It's not easy. Although, the good part is once you have understood the basics, extending Ember and doing custom stuff with Ember is not difficult. The kind of stuff that I've shown you, probably a lot of people won't know because Ember has undergone a lot of changes over the past year. The code is different every day. I downloaded the starter kit yesterday and it was 1.1.1, today is 1.1.2, and these are like stable releases. And they have breaking changes every time. They are like breaking changes every time. So Ember has gone through that particular phase. Ember is not easy to learn. It is anything but trivial. But once you get the hang of it, once you understand how Ember works, then doing custom stuff and extending your application and actually doing stuff which matter are not that difficult to do. Right? They essentially follow the same pattern, they follow the same process. Right? So I went through this article once, and so they had compared Backbone, Angular and Ember on what they are if you compare them to what would you take to a camping trip. Like if you're going on a camping trip, what would Backbone.js be? What would Ember be? Or what would Angular be? So what they had said was Backbone.js would be a spoon or a fork or a knife. So the bare minimum things that you have which you need to do whatever you want to do. So Ember is like a Swiss Army knife. So, initially getting used to Ember or getting used to the Swiss Army knife is a difficult thing to do, but once you're used to it, it's extremely useful. And similarly, Angular is a spork. So does anyone know what a spork is? It's a spoon and a fork. So it has a spoon on one side and a fork on the other, which is redundant in a way, but useful nonetheless. Right? So no offense to people who use Angular. I have not used Angular, I don't know Angular that well, and I can't take a session on Angular. I love Ember because I've just used Ember a lot. Right? Any questions? Is everyone satisfied? Right. Yeah.
So Angular extends HTML, it adds the custom tags, and that makes Angular the code readable on the HTML side. So does Ember provide like extending the HTML vocabulary?
So Ember, Backbone, Ember and Backbone are one category. Knockout, Angular, Batman, these are another category of MV style frameworks. So Knockout, Batman, Angular, all of them add tags to the HTML. They modify the existing HTML inside HTML. But it is okay to read it to some extent. But after a certain point of time, when you start binding multiple attributes and start doing for eaches and stuff, then you'll find that they actually start causing problems. For example, and it's a very stupid thing, in Knockout.js, if you have like, if you have to loop over two lists, so you have to loop over one list, and one element of the list is a list, and you have to loop over that list as well. But you want to encapsulate it into one object, you have to write a for each as a comment. You actually have to write a comment which is a ko.forEach, and you have to close that, and it somehow reads that for each and runs. I don't think that is readable code. I think that is just plain dumb, honestly. Over here, you just write do each blocks nested, and it really doesn't matter what you're binding it to. But that's again my perception. You might find it easier. I don't. Right? No offense. So yeah, that's about it. The last slide, finally. So we have an example here. Just checking if it works. Yeah, I will do that. I will do that. I want you all to just go to this particular link. Oops. Just go to this particular link. Right, just go to this link and just type in whatever you feel like. So this is a very simple app which has been created using Ember.js. I have posted it on my GitHub profile, and this is roughly about 20 lines of code, I think, 20 to 30 lines of code. Why don't you just try it out? Okay, Aditya started saying. So Aditya is getting burned by Ember. So you see that this is actually data syncing through something, right? So Aditya hit enter. Atul says Ember is nice. And all of it is reflecting on my machine. What do you think is the architecture I'm using? WhatsApp? No.
You have a node server?
No, it's not a node server. You're most welcome, Puneet.
So your chat room is a model.
So this is something which is very recently developed by Yehuda Katz and the creators of Firebase. This is Emberfire. It's three-way binding. So we saw two-way binding, right? You saw binding from model onto view, view onto model. This is binding from model to view to server and back. So these things that you're entering are actually getting synced to a server, and server is sending me push notifications back. I'm subscribing to those push notifications. That updates my model, which updates my view. And whatever you change on your view changes your model, changes the server data, and back. Right? So somebody hearts Ember.js as well. And is anybody interested in seeing how big this code is? How long do you think this code is? How, in kilo lines of code?
Few
100 lines of code? Seems like. Just see. So the HTML is about 40 lines. Nothing to do about that. The script is about 35 lines. So it's essentially smaller than our IMDb app. And it is syncing to a live database. I can show you the data.
Can you just open that link once again?
Yeah. So what do you think of this? We saw two-way binding, we saw a little bit of three-way binding as well. Now does it seem cool? Does Angular do this? Yes, it does. So Angular Fire was introduced way before Ember Fire was introduced. So was Backbone Fire. Ember Fire was introduced like 3 days ago. And driven by Angular Fire, I was making Ember Fire. I sought out to make it by myself, but couldn't finish it. But yeah, this is the ending of it. It's a chat application. Feel free to leave your comments here. Improvements if anything. How did you like the session? Would you like to have another session on Ember data? Would you like to know more about Ember? Chat rooms? Whatever. Yeah, cool. So that's about it. Yes.